I'm oral historian Mike Chappell. Today, June 10th, 2009, I'm interviewing Dr. Elwood Jensen for the Endocrine Society at its annual meeting being held this year at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. Dr. Jensen is a past president of the Endocrine Society and a member of the National Academy of Sciences. His landmark discovery of hormone receptors, which earned him the honor of being the father of the nuclear receptor field, has had a major impact on the treatment of breast cancer, and estrogen receptor analysis of breast cancers for therapy selection is now standard clinical practice. According to the Lasker Foundation, his work transformed the treatment of breast cancer patients and saves or prolongs more than 100,000 lives annually. Currently, Dr. Jensen is Distinguished Professor and holder of the Weil Chair for Cancer Research at the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine.
Dr. Charles Huggins, who later won the Nobel Prize for his work on prostate cancer, and was forming what became the Ben May Laboratory. He was the professor, and they want 3 younger people, and they wanted someone with organic chemistry training interested in the medical school. When he showed me how just these fractions of micrograms would make the uterus in a rat, female rat, grow to 8 times its size, it fascinated me as to how such tiny amounts of hormone could do this. And the thinking at the time was it did it by interacting with enzyme systems and oxidized by one and reduced by another. But there were hormones like methylstilbestrol that couldn't undergo this oxidation reduction. So we took the alternative approach, not what does a tissue, what does the hormone do to the tissue, but what's the tissue do with the hormone. So my colleague, Dr. Herbert Jacobson, who was there as a postdoc in the department, who's sitting in the room now, he and I decided we would label the estradiol hormone with carrier-free treatment. We made estradiol labeled that we could find a trillionth of a gram. You really needed a billionth to going to get a meaningful result. And so we found nothing happened to it, and that was heresy. We showed that the action was in the nucleus. These are all, the receptor is extranuclear, and the hormone activates it. It moves in the nucleus and binds in the gene. So these are called nuclear receptors. So that started a whole new thing 50 years ago, and they've had lots of celebrations. Well, last was 50, this year is 51. But they had in Shanghai and Stockholm, they had all this celebration of the 50 years of nuclear receptor.
To what extent did you participate in the development of tamoxifen?
Craig Jordan was then at Northwestern University, then subsequently went to right there in Chicago. We had a lot of collaborative work to show that tamoxifen would do what taking out the ovary would do, that it would prevent the action at the target level. And then later we showed that it's rather interesting. At a low level, it acts like estradiol. It stimulates, but at a higher level, it inhibits. So we and Craig Jordan and I worked together on this, and we've continued this now in Cincinnati, that these anti-estrogens have 2 binding sites. The stronger one is the same as estradiol, and so they compete for this, and you get inhibition. But, you get stimulation from tamoxifen at a low level, just like estradiol. But at a higher level, it binds to the secondary site, weaker, but you need a high, and then that puts the hormone, puts the receptor out of business. So Craig and I then were responsible to getting people to switch from surgical treatment to medical treatment. And we used to go and talk about, there's a little poem that I had composed, that a lady with growth neoplastic thought castration was just a bit drastic. She preferred that her ill could be cured with a pill. Today, it's no longer fantastic. That always went over big with lectures. And it is good because there's some that don't respond to, even though they do have receptor, but the 2/3 of them don't respond. but you don't have to see if they're going to respond or not. You can know right away that they should be put on chemotherapy because they're not going to respond. They don't have receptor. So you don't have to wait 6 to 8 months, all that time the cancer is growing. So it has really increased the efficiency and the knowledge to treat for the cancer treatments.
What were the most compelling issues when you were the president of the Endocrine Society?
Well, of course, the presidency is 1 year, so it isn't, you don't start a long program, but it was mostly, and from my standpoint, was to encourage the interaction and collaboration between clinical and basic science. Before that, the Endocrine Society had been largely basic science research, but there had been, of course, important clinical too, but I think the clinical got a little boost out of this, even though I was not a clinician myself. But, so anyway, it was a nice experience being president for the year, and it's my favorite society.